All right, good evening. I think we'll start. I know what's great is we have tables and seating so people can already start, Pat always knows how to draw attention to get people to pay attention. So it's great that people are already sort of talking and sharing ideas, and we like this layout. And I'm here, but before I start, I'm really going to turn it over to Pat Durham from St. Peter CME, who is going to do a welcome, and then Ronnie Mills and I from my office are going to kick it off and say a few words. But first, welcome to our town hall, our series of town halls we're doing about how to spend $1 million to improve equity in West Contra Costa County, right? And we're going to talk about that more, but I'm going to turn it over to Pat, who has been an active member of this great church, which has been such a large part of this community. And, this church helped. Good. I don't want to hear myself. And this church and Pat have been involved with helping found the longest running MLK Day in Contra Costa County, and right, as well as founding of the El Cerrito NAACP. So much history at this church, so we appreciate the church opening up its house, its doors to us to do this town hall. So Pat, give her a hand.
Oh, look, I have the mic upside down. Praise God, from whom all my blessings flow. Welcome to the only African American church in the city of El Cerrito, okay? We are the founder of a lot that goes on in El Cerrito. The El Cerrito Martin Luther King Parade and Rally, the El Cerrito Branch NAACP, the Human Relations Commission, and I can go on, but I am here to welcome you to this house, my church, St. Peter Christian Methodist Episcopal Church. And we pray that God will keep you safe forever in his arms. We have a brand new pastor. I would like for her to stand, Pastor Johnson, and we want to introduce her to the community. And we just love her. So it's a lot I can say, but there's someone in the house that I call Maya Angelou. And she is the city of El Cerrito's former poet laureate. And I remember a poem that she did once upon a time, and the name of the poem was Diversity. And I'm going to ask my daughter to come very quickly and tell us the real meaning of diversity.
To see you, because I am one of the many unique faces of diversity. See, my roots, they run as deep as that southern picturesque view in the sky, watching a storm brew. And as deep as the ageless history of the first continent's ancestral instinctive crew. And you said you wanted to see me. That's why you wanted to see me. But if you see me, you have to see you. Hence, if you see me and you see we. You see us. You see one. You see diversity has overcome. Yes, especially in 2025, it is still trying to overcome obstacles and barriers that want us to hate. But the beauty in the differences of our cultures allows us to create harmony for us all. See, I represent that Far East Side Great Wall. I represent Berlin's Fall. I represent the people of Schindler's List. I represent the luck of the draw of the Irish. I can run with the bulls, and yes, I do understand Confucius' rules. I am that powerful right fist, because you see, diversity, it exists, whether you want it to or not. People, we have to live in a world where we happen to live in a world where our country is the biggest melting pot. So I question you, what does an American look like? Are they brown, black, yellow, tan, or white? So there's nothing you can say, and there's nothing you can do, because diversity is one. Diversity is you and you and you. And you said you wanted to see me, but if you see me, you have to see you. And if you see me and you see we. You see diversity. Thank you.
Wow. I can't think of a better way to kick off a program about how do we want to spend $1 million. Thank you very much. I really appreciate this whole series of town halls we're doing to hear from people and have a conversation, because I want to be able to hear from you, converse, and I'll tell you a little bit about our process and what we're doing, and also have Ronnie Mills in my office talk about how this is going to roll out, because I appreciate all the hard work of my staff who have been helping put all of this together. Cynthia's here, and Robert, and Sonia, and I think Tanya's probably in the room there as well in the back. So I appreciate the full commitment of everyone on my staff on these. We did a town hall in Pinole earlier this week. We did one at the Rise Youth Center last week specifically for young people. So why don't I have Ronnie say a few words about what we're going to do, and then I'll give some introduction about the context for this funding and what we're talking about. So Ronnie.
Yeah.
Got it.
How's everybody doing tonight? Uh-oh. How's everybody doing? I know we in church. How's everybody doing tonight? All right. So like Supervisor Dre said, my name is Ronnie Mills, the district coordinator here. Super excited to just be able to learn from everyone here. So how this is going to go. So we have a Post-it notes in the back. And so for all of your items that you'd like to speak on or get more information on, you can write them there. For those that are joining us on Zoom, you can either use the raise your hand function, or I believe the chat function should be available as well. And so also for each Post-it note, they're going to be sticky little buttons that you can kind of put your +1 on there to add your support in that way as well. And so that is pretty much all the housekeeping notes that I have, and we'll open it up.
Great. Thank you, Ronnie.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks. What are we talking about? So back during the pandemic, the federal government provided funding to cities and counties to get through the pandemic, and specifically there was this federal legislation called ARPA. I think it stands for American Rescue. What does it stand for? Plan Act, American Rescue Plan Act. And most of that money's all been spent. Contra Costa has had some leftover one-time dollars, $5 million. We have some other money related to that in reserves, and I'll talk about that later. But specifically, we had $5 million countywide, and the Board of Supervisors made the decision to allocate $1 million per supervisorial district through and have some public input about how to spend those dollars in each district. That's not a lot of money, $1 million, right? Our budget is $7 billion a year. $4 billion of those 7 is our health department. A lot of those federal reimbursements. In fact, we're expecting unfortunate cuts from Washington. You know, the federal bill that passed cuts back funding for healthcare and social services dramatically, specifically for Medicaid or Medi-Cal, our health system, which serves 200,000 people in this county. There's 250,000 people on Medi-Cal in this county. We serve through our own health department 200,000 of them through our hospital and 11 clinics. So we're expecting that maybe 70,000 people could lose their health care as a result of that. So this $1 million, for me, in looking at the purpose of this federal law, is really about improving equity and closing disparity gaps in health, economic and health disparities. That's how we're viewing it. Every supervisor is taking their own approach in their district, but we're going back to the spirit of this legislation, which is about closing disparities, achieving equity. And so while it's one-time money, we want to spend it wisely with good public input. And the purpose of these public town halls is to continue to gather input. We're doing 5 of them. This is the 3rd one. And later in October, the board's going to have some discussion about this. I'm not going to be proposing at that meeting how to spend it, because what we are going to do is take and gather the input that's come in, and then put together some type of solicitation process for grants. There may be I'm just speaking generally without having made any final decisions, but some grants may be 50,000 and under, and others will be 50,000 and above. And the reason we're using 50,000 as a threshold is because we may want to support smaller based organizations that may not have the capacity to have insurance, because under 50,000, there's no requirement that nonprofit have insurance, for example. Above 50, there is. So we're going to be coming out with that, having a good public process and notice about that shortly after we finish this whole series of town halls. You know, we spend a lot of money on trying to address equity and close disparities. So again, this is meant to be, you know, what are immediate needs today. And I'm proud to say that we did create, Supervisor Glover and I, who's passed away, unfortunately, created an Office of Racial Equity and Social Justice a few years ago. And we are working on closing disparities and achieving equity through that office. We have a number of initiatives under that office. To me, everything comes down to health and equity, right? What do we do to achieve health and equity in all the sense, whether it's health, education, you know, career opportunities, opportunities for young people, our community's health, our environmental health, all of those things. Health and equity is really, for me, what it's about. I grew up here in Richmond, and we're in El Cerrito, but I grew up in Richmond, went to El Cerrito High School. My father taught at Kennedy High School. I know some of you are former students of my father. Always nice to be around. How many of you are former students of my father? I know there's a few of you, yeah. So it's great. Thank you for reminding me of his inspiration. Gauchos, how many gauchos in the house? Okay, all right. How many, there's a few Eagles, Gauchos, right? Okay. Oilers, okay, all right. You know what? Getting back to our Poet Laureate's poem, we are a diverse community in West Contra Costa County, aren't we? And we, our diversity is our strength. And we have a lot of cultures here, right? Nearly 30% of our county residents are immigrants. And we are working to stand up and support our immigrant families, because they're also a large part of our economy, right? 35% of our small businesses in Contra Costa are owned by immigrants. I'm the son of an immigrant from Italy. My son's mom is an immigrant from South America. So we all have our immigrant connections. So bringing it back to this funding, and we've gotten good input along the way. Really, the purpose is for all of you to weigh in about your perspective about how do we achieve equity with this small $1 million investment. I keep saying it's small because the ideas we have here also are helpful as we look at other expenditures and other things we do. Back during the pandemic, we did put a sales tax measure on the ballot called Measure X. First time in our county's history that we brought in sales tax revenue, and we raised about $120 million a year from that. We are using that a lot to support health and social services and other things as well, including mental health. So, and as you give input, you can ask questions, and I'll also respond and put it. And if there's other kinds of opportunities on funding, we can talk about that. I will say two other things about funding. I serve on the Air District Board, and the Air District recently changed its policy. I had advocated for this change to spend 80% of our fines and penalties that we bring in of over $1 million back in the community and where that penalty was assessed. And the reason is because if we're putting a fine or penalty on an industrial facility, we want the community that suffered the harm to get the benefit of that. And so there is about $36 million in fines and penalties and a health settlement from the Chevron refinery, and the Air District is actually going through also a public process. I've been involved in this on how we set up a process to spend that $36 million. And a lot of that is about health as well. And there will be guidelines coming out for that in the next month. We'll get to vote on the Air District to finalize those guidelines in December. And in January, we're going to start also for the Air District a public process to apply for the $36 million. And that's broader than Richmond. It's Richmond, North Richmond, San Pablo, surrounding areas that are impacted by air pollution from industrial facilities here. So just think about that, because, a lot of the things you may talk about in expressing needs may also be funded out of that one-time effort. And then also, in fact, I was glad to spend about an hour last night at CoBiz with a number of African-American leaders who've been focusing on funding on African-American wellness issues. We at the county did establish an effort to improve and reduce disparities among African Americans on health and wellness issues, because the greatest disparities exist in this county on health and outcomes in the African American community, and looking at a hub of services that really improve health and wellness. And so separately, we're working on developing some sustainable revenue and funding for that effort, and we have some opportunities to do that. That's separate and apart from the $36 million and separate and apart from the $1 million. Just wanted to note that. So that's why what you're saying to me tonight, I will think about as we look at a lot of other opportunities for funding. So with that, I think, Ronnie, what we're going to do is we're going to go to start hearing from individuals, right? Yes. And then if there's a question or something that I need to respond, I'm glad to do that. Okay, so we'll start with that, and we're glad to. I just want to acknowledge there's a lot of people in this room who do great, amazing work. I work with a lot of you, and I just want to acknowledge that, the partnership I think that we have with community-based organizations. We can always do a better job, but the partnership we have with community-based organizations is important, and so I just want to acknowledge I'm not here alone doing this work. I'm here with all of you, and I just want to express appreciation to you. And I always want to call it a gaucho over here, who I've gotten to work with Dr. Desmond Carson, right, a physician with Lifelong Medical, who has fought so hard on so many things. All of you have. I hate pointing out one person, but I just wanted to say it's always great seeing you, man, Dr. Carson. Yeah.
If he points me out, then I have to point out my mentor as well as my colleague, Dr. Brazil Carter, who's been here forever and a day.
Here he is, yes. Right. I think it's sort of, it's an indication that we all are here on the shoulders of other people and other people who've worked hard, and we sort of build on that. Yes, thanks, Dr. Carter. All right, so why don't, we can ask you to raise hands, or we can start from table to table, and so other people can sort of hear thoughts. And we've got plenty of time, but I know you'll be brief, succinct, but also taking the time that you need. And all of this is being written down, it's being recorded, and it's also being written down on sticky notes over that Robert's in control of over there. And all of this is being summarized. We're going to summarize to the Board of Supervisors, what came out of all these meetings. We've already put things together from two. So with that, I know you're not shy. This is not a shy group. I know that. So someone has to start this off. Yeah, you can step wherever you want if you want the camera to see you. And yes.
Good evening. Before I get started, I represent as the president of the Robinson Weeks Robinson Scholarship Foundation. I'd like my members of our organization to stand up and be introduced. Dr. Desmond Carson, Mr. Virgil Weeks, and Mrs. Pat Durham. And we have other members also that are not present. What our organization does is, since 1989, we have been an organization that has provided scholarships to students interested in going to the health field. When I started practice in 1979, there were no fewer than 12 African American physicians in the community. At the present time, other than for Kaiser and the county, there's 3. Myself, Dr. Claudel Stevens, and Dr. Desmond Carson. And as Dr. Carson has told me, he's lost his jump shot, and so have I. So, which means we're getting older and we're gonna have to move on, and we wanna hand on the job of taking care of this community to others who are interested in going into medicine as physicians, nurses, medical technicians, whatever, psychologists, psychiatrists. We need the help. And without providing financing for these students that are interested in going into these fields, they have no hope of moving forward. So bylaws were written to provide assistance to students from the West Contra Costa School District. And over the 35 years we've been in existence, close to 40 now, we have awarded over $200,000. How do we raise this money? Selling fried chicken dinners, having community events. Every year, we've been all volunteers to make this happen. But to do this year after year and with limited financial support, we need help from other sources. So we're asking that we be considered for a portion of the money that's being awarded, that will eventually be awarded to this community to continue our efforts to provide scholarships for students interested in going into the medical field. Not only are we interested in high school students, but we're also reaching out to junior college students who are already interested in medicine. And we also want to emphasize the importance of STEM activities in our elementary schools, so we can get our youngsters on that path early in life, so that when they get older and get into high school, get into college, they'll still consider medicine as a career objective. So with that, I would say thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Carter, and thank you for your years of service. Thank you. Great suggestion. Yes.
Good evening. My name is Kim Jones. I am a member of this lovely church, St. Peter CME, but I'm also a member of the Contra Costa County Sustainability Commission under John Gioia, and we're involved in trying to keep our county clean and green and all those things. But I want to remind us of something that John said. I know we came in the room to talk about $1 million, but it's a whole bunch more than that. So don't let your ideas be too big, right? Right? Somebody just told me recently that if you're thinking big and you ain't scared, you ain't thinking big enough. So we should be thinking big about this. We should be thinking about something we can sustain, to something that's good for our community. And there are no bad ideas here. So I just want to reiterate that we appreciate what Supervisor Gioia is doing, and thank you to our church and my sister here to invite us in here. But you guys, this is serious. This doesn't happen often. He mentioned the Bay Area Quality Management. I'm also one of the Community Action Plan members. We wrote a document, and Chevron is mandated to work with us for 5 years. They can't tell us to get lost when we tell them what to do. And so we're trying to bring some of those resources to braid with what we're doing here to bring some health and wellness services to our community. So think big, y'all. Big, big, big.
Thank you. And thank you for your work with developing that pollution reduction plan, and of course with the Sustainability Commission. It's great having you on there. And it's right. I think as we think tonight, ideas here aren't just in the $1 million category. Well, we're looking at that specifically. This $36 million will go through a process early next year, and there's a lot of overlap to achieve equity between those two funds, right?
Yeah, my name is Antoine Clort, longtime Richmond resident advocate. Like Brother Kim said, this is the first time in history that the black community has been recognized with these finances that came around this refinery, right? I've been here all my life, and I see some of my mentors in here, Carlson, Stevenson, Kim's sister, Rick and Jim, these are my mentors. But I took it upon myself to say to Richmond that not this time. Y'all gonna give us what we got coming, because our families had 5 generations here around that refinery. It's already marked out where that money's supposed to go. It's supposed to go to us. But if we're not organized enough, we will get looked over. I'm telling y'all. So we formed an organization called the Black Excellence Coalition. Y'all have seen it in the newspapers. We talked to John, we talked to the city. We are demanding that money. We're not asking them for anything. We're demanding that money to make sure that our economic power, health, and wellness can affect our community for moving forward, not backwards. What it looks like to have a relationship with a refinery, what it looks like to have a relationship with individuals that worry about our health and wellness, not mental health, because we ain't coming for that, but health and wellness, we will beat your door down for it, right? Education, resources, economic empowerment, housing, mentoring. This is what this community needs, because that's what we were lacking. That's why they're using that word economic. You gotta know what that word means when they say words. You gotta know what they mean when they say that words. It's broader than what you think it is. And so that's why we formed this coalition with like-minded people from Richmond that have been here all our life, that didn't work for everybody else, but now we're working for ourselves. We're working for ourselves. And we're working for ourselves to better our people. I'm not doing this for Antoine. I'm doing it for my people and my predecessors who lived in this town, who died and never was recognized around our, I'm gonna close with this because I can talk all day long, but I'm gonna close with this one. The history of Richmond was that shipyard. Our parents and grandparents came to that shipyard and worked. We were not supposed to stay in Richmond, we were supposed to leave. But we stayed, and we ended up getting redlined for 25 years. They redlined every part of the black community where we were at, and we didn't get no resources. Now we didn't got this $550 million from Chevron, and the city want to put it in their caucus. No, that is reparation for those who was exposed to Chevron. And we want our just dues. I ain't talking about John money, John County money. We talking about what Richmond got. And then we can talk about having a relationship with
I'm
John.
glad you clarified that. Because yeah, and what Antoine's referring to, and some of you know this, the city of Richmond had put on the ballot a tax measure, an additional tax measure on the refinery, and Chevron knew it was going to pass. So there was a settlement between the city and Chevron that in lieu of putting this measure on the ballot, that over the next 10 years, Chevron would pay the city into its general fund $550 million. I think it's $50 million over 5 years and then $60 million over 5 years. So it's averages $55 million a year. And the city council hasn't yet finally decided, but they're considering how do they spend that money. And I know, Antoine, you have formed, and some of you are here, an organization to really advocate on behalf of a large community in Richmond, including the African American community, about how should that money be spent. So that, I think, is what was the genesis for forming the group that you talk about. But it's important to advocate in these other venues, whether it's the $36 million from the Air District, whether it's $1 million here, and just other issues, as we talked last night about we're creating a source of funding on African American health and wellness. So anyway, I think just want to clarify that $550 million. You can tell me how you want to spend it, but you have to tell that to the Richmond City Council. Thanks. All right.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michelle Jackson, and I'm a member here at St. Peter CME Church, and I'm also an advocate for Stige Elementary School. And I just want to thank John Gioia for this opportunity. And as everyone said, this is the first time that I can remember that we have been included in a setting like this to have such input. But what I like to say, I want to go to Dr. Carter and his request about the mentorship for doctors at the elementary school level. I have 2 points to make. That's the first one, because if we don't put the health and wellness at that age and have some type of continuum of services to that age in the elementary school, it'll be like everything else. The money will come and the money will go. So my challenge is for us, as we rebuild Stige Elementary School, and everyone in here has taken a part in that, we want to make sure that Stige is a STEM school. I like to see Stige once it's built, and I want to thank John Gioia. When I watched that video about Stige Elementary School and the condition that the school was in, the very first phone call I made was to John Gioia. And I appreciate that, John, because you helped us. The second call I made to John, and we were trying to find funding, they were already meeting about Stige, and staff knows that. And that was a great asset to us to get that school rebuilt. Stige, a STEM school with a medical emphasis, with a partnership from Contra Costa College. I see that as a possibility, because we have to have some nuclear system that provides a real service to the education of our young people. That's number one, and I'd like to see it come from the medical field, because we have the talent here to be on that campus, to recruit young doctors that's going through their internships, and have that internship somehow, those practicums start right at Stige Elementary School, because that's where it's needed. My second issue that I like to say is that we're all here, and I can go down and do the roll call of who and what everyone represents. I would like to see this setting take place in Crescent Park. Let's hear from the voices of those who need the services. I like to see this setting take place in Kennedy Manor. I like to see that. And John will do that, because we know, and we've had the experience of doing this type of work, and we've had these opportunities before, but we don't want to plan for something that we're not going to use. We want to go to the horse's mouth and talk to the parents in Crescent Park, Deliverance Temple. I'm just speaking for my East Shore community. And Kennedy Manor, because I know that Antoine mentioned something about mental health. We do need that. And I see Sister Cheryl here from Fierce Advocates. Our parents are in need. The whole family is a systemic situation within the family structure that we need to take care of. How we do that, I don't know. I have some ideas. But I don't want to not mention that for these funds in this community, because that's what made us who we are. I can go down and roll call all these parents, and we had these type of services here, and that's why we're still here. So we need to offer that to the next generation. And I thank the staff of John Gioia for being here, for doing this. This is a wonderful start. Thank you.
And Michelle, thank you for your whole lifetime of service. You know, I think what's great is if I were to add up the years of service of all of you here, it's hundreds or thousands of years. I don't know. It's a long time. But, you know, when you mention Stige, it was really the community and leaders like yourself who said a partial rebuild of Stige is not enough, that is not equity, that is not fair. And I remember when you called and the community rose up. You know, the community in this area is really the voice and effective. And you know, we were having some meetings with the superintendent, including our state superintendent, Tony Thurman, who was involved with some of these, who's from Richmond, of course, and others, to say, yeah, how can we find, you know, trying to really advocate and pressure the school district to identify the funding. And it started, though, with the community. I feel we were a voice for the community. And the result was, as you see, that is a flat field now because the whole thing is getting rebuilt. And of course, Kennedy, right, is getting, much of that's getting rebuilt. And I was at the Richmond High. So Richmond High, for you Oilers, is getting rebuilt. I mean, so that is really important. And so standing up for Stige, because it was not going to get rebuilt until the community said, that's not enough, we need to rebuild it. And thank you for that. Yeah, Ronnie's got this mic. Okay, and he'll, yeah.
Oh, me? Speaking of redlining and reparations, I'm here to promote the Black Wealth Builders Fund, which is a fund started by Arlington Community Church. And the fund helps first-time Black homebuyers through zero interest loans for down payment assistance. And we started the fund in 2021, and so far we've given out 46 loans to first-time Black homebuyers. Our biggest, everybody's in Contra Costa or Alameda County, although we have had a couple of loans in Solano County recently. But I'm here to say we would love some of this money to help keep our fund going. We've raised a lot of money, but we've given away everything that we've raised. And we have a waiting list now through Richmond Neighborhood Housing Services. They're the ones who qualify the applicants for us. There's people waiting for this money. There's a program set up, and we'd love to have money from this fund to help keep us going. Thank you.
Thank you. And I remember when we met at your church, I mean, and you advocated as we think about ways to bring in more funding. And I know I think it's an example of this church, obviously included, that we have so many congregations here in West County. Our faith community has really been a strong moral voice and really worked on a lot of initiatives. You know, the Greater Richmond Interfaith Program, GRIP, which is a lot of the congregations here in West County that, you know, built a family shelter. So I think we're so fortunate to have active congregations here in West County, and thanks for the work you do at your church. Speaking of church, speaking of faith.
How you doing tonight, John?
Good to see you.
JW said hello.
Thanks.
I want to just say ditto to what Dr. Carter and what Michelle had put out. And I think coupling that together sends out a large vision, what Kim was saying. Because you remember some years ago, we fought for a community benefits agreement. UC Berkeley was coming here to do the Global Bay Campus. And they were inviting universities from around the world to come here. And I was part of the leadership team to try to develop a community benefits agreement, and our premise was, if you're going to bring global education in our backyard, our schools, Stige, Coronado, and others, who at that time were performing out of 50 states, down in the 40s in education. And we're still somewhat at that level. So when you talk about bringing STEM and those things and mentorship for doctors that are coming out of our schools, it must begin at the elementary level, because we're not producing the quality of those. And I say that because I was afraid to send my own children to public school and started one for a little minute so that they could continue their private education. And so I'm an advocate. I'm on the commission with Antoine Cloyd, and I've worked with, been to a few meetings. I'm stretched kind of thin for Steve School, but I want to advocate for that STEM. I want to advocate for the education, and that's what our group, the Excellence Group, is about. The Excellent Coalition is to provide that mentorship, that education, and the development for our youth. Because if we're going to have any type of future in this county, in this community, as an African-American community, as a people that's diverse, and you know, we've worked well together over the years. And I think that if we come together, the coalition, the foundations, the education, we have to present ourselves cohesive and collectively together in order to be powerful to go after what we need. And I think that's the backdrop of what my brother Kim was saying. If it's not, so since you put me on the church and faith level, I'll say it this way.
You deserve to be on that level.
If it's not God-size, if it's not a God-sized vision, then don't go after it. But if it's a God-sized vision, where that we know it can only happen by our faith and the work that we put in our faith, we can make a difference in this community. And so I stood to say that because tonight is my wife's birthday.
Yeah,
and I done made my
you can leave
speech,
early if you want. Yeah.
and I'm finna hit the door.
How come you didn't bring her here? We had dinner right here.
No, buddy. Walnut Creek, a brand new Caribbean restaurant. And she dropped my little one off, who his big brother has taken him to Spokane, Washington, where our Sargon son plays with Gonzaga. And he's turning 13, but he'll be 13 at a Gonzaga game.
Thanks. And thank you. Oh. Thank you for spending part of this important day with us.
And I'm here to support whatever group is going to work, because y'all know I don't mind standing in front of folks.
You want the mic again?
Is the floor back open, John?
Floor's open. Go ahead. Yes.
Hi, everybody. My name is Maisha. My name is Maisha Woodard. I'm born and raised right here in Richmond. I'm from Crescent Park. My mother and father is born and raised here. My mother's from Crescent Park. My father's from North Richmond. So what I wanted to come here tonight and address is, so I'm one of them people in the community. I move very cautious. I move very cautious on who I spend my time with, who I meet with, who I contract with, who I partner with, who I become friends with. I'm one of them type of people because when I came home from serving a 6-year prison sentence, I was well in my bag with making sure formerly incarcerated women don't experience what I experienced. Coming home homeless, denied 26 jobs, helpless, right? So I started that mission. So then when I came to my own hometown, what I noticed was we had a lot of people in Richmond speaking for us. A lot of people in Richmond speaking for us, and they have not endured the trauma from this community that we have. They think they can sit behind a couple of rooms and desks and speak on what they feel our communities need. Now, I always tell people all the time, Ariana know this about me. I say this in a lot of rooms because I'm very blunt and I don't care what people think about me, right? But I say, We can make Richmond as pretty as we want it to be. We can put all this infrastructure, put all these restaurants that ain't owned by none of us black people. None of our youth is working in them, right? I can get a million emails of fellowships that's coming out for youth, but they can't help my youth because they can't go to that part of town. Or they can't go there, they can't vibe there, right? So what I did was, I remember the first time I turned down an opportunity that could have set me up for a long time, right? But it would have been taken away from the people in my communities. Whether it's the South Side, whether it's North Richmond, whether it's Central Richmond, we are all still one. And what I didn't feel comfortable doing is going behind my people's backs, eating off my communities without all of us in Richmond trying to come together and work it out. Okay? One thing you got to understand when you're making these type of decisions, and this is why I appreciate you, John, and this is why Mariana know that people might be jealous that you actually got me here, Maisha, right? Because I don't do this. I don't do this.
We're honored to have you here.
Yes, thank you. So I don't come in these type of rooms, and let me tell you why. I'm either going to come with a problem or I'm going to come with the plan to fix the problem. The only two things you're getting from me. And the only reason why I ain't got a bunch of data in my hand like I run around with is because I was coming from a youth. One of my youth just moved in their apartment. But I just want to say this because I could sit and talk all day like you, Antoine, right? I could sit and talk all day. But what we have to do is remember that it is some people in these neighborhoods in Richmond that when we go back to talking about mental health, right? We've heard that mentioned a million times. I'm here first to tell you mental health is not a priority to the black communities. It is not a priority. However, it is needed. But another thing too, I remember my first time talking to mayors and everything. I remember when I was just fresh, young, running around out of prison, and they thought I was just this young black girl running around. And I think what I've heard from a lot of people is, well, this young lady been roaming around since she came home from prison, and she ain't asked for one piece of funding or money. Right? And we're going to talk about how many contracts I didn't turn down. Right? Because if it ain't for my people, if it ain't finna come to the trenches, to the ghetto, where people scared to come, because I've given many opportunities and invitations before events start getting put on and everybody start wanting to make their face known to televisions and TVs. I've been trying to get people to suit up in their hoodies and sneakers and come in the trenches. Right. So these young men can tell y'all what they need, right? Because y'all sending all these organizations through our communities, dangling checks over our heads, it's not going to work. But keep in mind, we do have some black communities where us black folks are at odds, right? But do we take that data and we forget that in order to even have a Richmond, you need the black ghettos. We make this city. We make this city. Nothing goes through here. What do you do if you want to bring a tourist to Richmond, right? What are you going to do? Just take them along the curbside and say, hey, this is Richmond. You can't do that, right? So this goes back to me talking about the youth entrepreneur shop I opened up at CoBiz, right? You would think I would run around the whole Richmond talking about this opportunity. No, what I do, I get foot on the ground. I get boots on the ground. So when me and Mariana had brunch a few days ago, I handed her two important things. I handed her a custom-made portfolio blueprint of the data that me and my teams collected, solely behind the scenes, without a round of applause, without anything, and we did it at a very low cost. That's how we did it. You know how many families we were able to help? It ain't being talked about and noted. But what I did is made sure that, and I've always made this clear, John Gioia, to everybody who has met me, and they will tell you this. I said, I give this community by the end of 2025 to figure out a way for the black communities, or I'm coming with smoke. I said that, so they can't tell you that they've ever met me, and I've never made this clear, right? And this is why I protect places like Ensuring Opportunity and RCF. This is why I protect them, because we do have some black people in our communities that ain't gonna understand the method of we don't need money, we need opportunities, because with those opportunities, we can make our own money because we're capable. But you can't come dangling a check over a bunch of people here who are already starving and hungry, because yes, we're going to take it without the proper resources and steps that takes to get us to a successful point. Resources are played out. They're boring. Not everybody can pull up at City Hall and get a resource. So for me, like I mentioned when I brought the housing program to North Richmond, right? I sat in front of a community with women that I didn't used to get along with growing up here, right? And I made it clear. I turned down positions. I turned it down because if us as blacks in every community ain't finna eat together, the system would not tear us apart. And the city is a system. It is a program system. And whether we in the welfare lines or whether we in the Medicare lines, black people, we go through a system. And so I want to make something really clear. I remember one thing I did for RCF, Richmond Community Foundation. I took every initiative and I gave it over to Jim and Miss Mariana, and I said, keep this forever. And what I did with all of their initiatives, I revamped them and created them to be specifically built for the black communities. Now, this is not something we brought to real life, but it was because of my dedication to that organization and me telling them, hey, I feel like you guys are one organization that can actually help the black communities. But you have to be willing and you have to have the power. The people are the power. Because if the people wasn't the power, the job already would have been done. We wouldn't be having conversations on what we're trying to do with $1 million. We wouldn't be having these conversations. But you can't come and build a method for us and think that's how we're going to survive off of it, because behind the scenes, we surviving in ways that y'all can't even fathom. So one thing I love that my Central Richmond crew right here, right? These are my girls I picked, right? Keela, she's on live somewhere. She's over the North Richmond area.
And we'll go to Zoom later to hear from folks.
And then my South Side girl, her daughter got sick, so she's not here. Marche, she's not here. But what I loved about them when we first started the Community Zone Data Project, and of course me and Mariana were both getting here in due time, so we didn't bring the magazine. I also have a magazine that's going to be illustrated out into Contra Costa County, right? And I have the data. And so what I loved is that I built the Community Zone Project for black people, right? But what I love so special about the Central Richmond team, when they called me and they said one thing, they said, well, are we subjected to just helping blacks? What about the Hispanics? And if you know Central Richmond community, they're made up of, 75% of Mexicans and blacks? I mean, the households there is a Mexican father or a black mother and a Mexican father. I say yes. I say yes. We're because they just as vulnerable as us. We have to understand that. They're just as vulnerable. So when I came into my communities, right, I said, we have this is when I first collected the data, you guys. I only counted 15 plus organizations within Contra Costa and West Contra Costa. And everybody know me. I speak my mind. Hi, Sarah. I speak my mind, and I always talk about data. And if I had that data in my hand, you guys hear me talk about data, because you could come in as many town halls as you want, but you have to have the proof in the pudding, right? And I have 125 signatures, by the way, that will be in the back of the catalog, just so we can know the data is accurate.
And I know you speak on behalf of a lot of people, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's why you're getting more time.
So I'm gonna close out saying this. In these ghettos in Richmond, we have a lot of smart black children that need opportunities. It's a lot of young girls that I work with right now whose story is mine. I mean, I was raised in a house with just my mom and my two siblings. So it's a lot of fight that we have to fight, and the city have to be willing to put in the effort to give us a chance to fight for our own communities. Give us that opportunity. Don't look at us as criminals. Don't look at us as problems. Don't look at us as violent committers. Don't look at us like that. Look at us as human beings. So in due time, John Gioia, you will be seeing why I feel like a portion of this funding can go to reshaping our communities. And of course, I don't talk too much when I'm in public places because my methods is secret, right?
Thank you.
So thank you guys for having me.
And I think it is important to allow people the time to talk, because we have a group that's small enough to give everyone a chance to really express how they feel. And I really appreciate hearing that. It shapes me and, makes me better able to advocate. I wish, I'm going to have to play a tape of this to my colleagues on the Board of Supervisors so they can hear everything you're saying here too, because I think, Marianne, you go to lots of our meetings. Sometimes my colleagues don't hear all of this every day or often enough. And it is so important for them to hear this. So thank you for speaking up and speaking out. Thanks. All right.
That was an earful, but she was preaching the gospel. My name is Virgil Weeks. I grew up here. Father was a physician in this community. And I worked with the literacy program with the city of Richmond. I could have done more, but it put me on the ground, because one of the things I learned working in this community These young children are absolutely brilliant. And I've always said that with exposure, it leads to expansion. Now, in the healthcare field, and with Robinson Weeks Robinson, I see the importance of us raising and growing our own crop of healthcare professionals. You go into Kaiser, and how many people do you see that look like you, touching you, and asking you, how are you? Okay? There's a social pathology that a doctor has to have in dealing with a patient. It's not just the biological. One of the things I remember, and this is where Michelle hit it right on the head. I remember going into Brookside, and my father would do posts. And in there, I'd see these kids with the invisible man or invisible woman while their father is performing a post and taking out the organs, and the kids doing it with them. This is who the kids that I worked with, or young adults, have to compete with. They have a leg up, and they make sure of that. And if you look at our children and look at our community, we're cannon fodder to this system. And we have to stop. And it's the education. We have people. Tomorrow, Shiloh has a school, and I've been working with some young people there. The education is the key. Stige has to become a STEM school. It has to become. And I don't mean just this year and then we're going to do performing arts. We can dance, we can sing, and we can play sports. We've done that, proven it. But when you really get down to it, when it comes to intellectual capacity, our kids really reign supreme. And they have to know it, and they have to be challenged. As long as I challenge these young men and move fast and quick with them, they got it. And I met them where they were. How do we do decimals? If your Glock holds 20 rounds and you use 20% of them, how many rounds you got left? Okay? And they got it. So there are many different ways of teaching as long as the young person comprehends and understands it. I push a lot of math because math teaches you to think. Word problems teaches you to develop comprehension. Our kids don't get math after the third grade. We get counting numbers up to that point. And then I see these young adults trying to get jobs with PG&E or East Bay Mud. And they've got a math test in front of them. When I was at the city, they would bring these young people in, these young guys. There was a segment of the population came in there, knocked that test out, walked out. Then there were my folks sitting there. Okay? So I had to go get a copy of the test, but I had to teach to the test. And that's when I realized what the education system at Stige, Pullman, North Richmond, Verdes, all right, and Perry's. But the education I got at Mira Vista was completely different. And because of that, I want to share that and make it work. Because we're the ones that brought science to mankind.
Thank you, Virgil. Thank you.
Hello, you guys. My name is Kataja Oliver. I'm not used to speaking. I'm shy. I'm not used to speaking.
We're all behind you. Everyone here is behind you.
But I just wanted to touch on what she was saying earlier about our communities. And basically, from my point of view, I'm a person that for the last 7 years, I want to say since 2018, I've been doing backpack giveaways, Easter egg hunts, Halloween parties out of my own pocket because I see it in my community. A lot of kids wasn't as fortunate as I was growing up, or just if you come from our community, you know what it looked like and what it is just by seeing a person's whole presence. So I took it up on myself to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to give back to where I came from because I didn't have this. If I didn't she didn't come to me with the opportunity to put my feet on the ground and go door to door to get signatures and see who needed help and what and all the, you know, et cetera, things that comes about besides of what I was doing. Like, she gave me the motivation to keep pushing, because it was like, this year I almost gave up.
But you didn't. But you didn't.
So today makes 1 year I lost my oldest brother. I wouldn't even made it to this meeting today because another thing, just a second, even though I'm running on, mental health is real. In the black community, we are told to be quiet. We are told to not go talk to people. We are told to keep what goes on in the house stays in the house. That affects us. I'm 37 years old today. I just started talking to a psychologist December of last year because my brother died October 2nd. I thought it wasn't okay to talk to nobody. So when my friend came to me with the opportunity, she's like, you know, I've been seeing what you've been doing. You know, I think you fit, you one of the, excuse me, because I'm staggering on my words. But one of the perfect fits because of what she's seen me doing already. And, you know, I jumped on it instantly. I'm like, you know what? I've been doing this out of my own pocket. I still will do it out of my own pocket. Still have done it out of my own pocket. But if we can get funded, if it is funds out there that I never knew about as of today, and I've been doing this for 7 years, why not get on? Why not get on board? Even if I don't get nothing out of it, I'm not doing it to get nothing out of it. I'm doing it to show these kids that it is people that care, that understand, that comes from where y'all came from, and that wants to see y'all do better and wants to change the narrative, and I want to break the cycle. I feel like I have broken the cycle because I have a 20-year-old, a 15-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 3-year-old, okay? So with all my children, I have broken the cycle. I had my first child at 16. I'm from Central Richmond, so if anybody has grew up around Richmond, y'all know the difference in how it goes when you run around, your parents doing, and you come from the 80s, the epidemic, I don't want to say, but you get what I'm saying. The parents not really paying too much attention. So I say all that to say, I appreciate being able to even step and be in this room, especially on a day like this where I shut down. I'm the type of person to shut down and just go silent, go mute. You'll see me once I'm back and I feel like, you know, I'm the woman of steel. I don't like to let nobody see me vulnerable. But as I start seeing these kids, like, you have to be vulnerable with them. You have to show them, like, I understand where you're coming from. I feel what you've been through, and I'm trying to show you it's a different way. I'm trying to show you it's more to it. I'm trying to show you it is people that actually out here care, and it's okay to speak up. No matter, this is what I tell the kids. I don't go against anything your parent tell you. If anything comes to me, and I feel like it's a life and death situation, or if it's a dire need to tell your parent, I will tell your parent. But I want to be an open door. I leave my doors open, ears open for you to be able to come communicate with me about whatever is going on. If I can help you in any type of way possible, whether it's taking the shoes off my feet and giving them to you, whether it's taking the coat off my back and giving it to you, I will do that. But at the end of the day, I just wanted to say I appreciate you guys. This is the first time I ever even experienced an event like this. Like this is big for me, especially on a day like this where I would literally just be in my room crying or something and not even trying, you know, and then just coming back out and here, guess what? In 3 more weeks, I'm finna throw this Halloween party, but nobody knows that the mental things that I'm going through in the inside because I'm keeping it in. But how can I show these kids that it's a different way of going about it if I just stay in my shell when I get in my mode? Now I'm showing them like, hey, I'm outside. Now I can show my kids once I get back to where I come from, hey, even though I'm used to shutting down, I didn't shut down today. I came to a meaningful event. I came to something that actually could possibly I made it to something that actually can possibly help us. Even though I've been helping y'all, we can get more help. You know, we get like literally just make it bigger. Not just me, solely me on my own. Like, you get what I'm saying? If I can get an organization behind me, if I can just get one more person behind me that I can show, and diversity, it goes back to that. Diversity. And I am a mother of bilingual kids. My kid's dad is Mexican and I'm African American. So that's another thing. Like, you get what I'm saying? Yeah. So
Your voice is powerful. No, I mean,
Exactly.
your voice is powerful.
Listen.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. You can't.
So, and then my older two kids are just fully African American. So,
Right.
you know, I got two different cultures going on where I let my younger kids, I want y'all to know both cultures. I let y'all choose which way y'all want to go. I'm not going to say you got to be Catholic or you got to be Christian.
As your poem at the beginning about diversity.
Yes.
Right? About diversity.
Yeah, that's what I couldn't
That's who
see,
we are.
but there you go. Yes, I'm sorry. Mine is all over the place, but
You
I'm
set the
so
tone.
emotional. But I just wanted to just say thank y'all. I appreciate it, Maisha. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. And because I actually done it so much, I started to feel like I was overlooked, even though I wasn't looking for anything in return. I was feeling like, dang, is it just only me in this community trying to show these kids it's more to what they know and see?
Yeah.
It's just me.
Yeah.
Stepping in this room today showed me it's not just me. I'm not alone.
Yeah.
And I
Thank you.
appreciate that.
And thank you.
Thank you.
See, you're an example of why I want my colleagues on the board to hear your voices, right? I mean, it is so important to hear. There's nothing more powerful than the lived experience, and it helps us advocate and be the voice for that. So thank you for being here. You know, Misha, when you talked about, you know, being formerly incarcerated, right? I mean, and I know there's others here who are formerly incarcerated who've gone out and done amazing things in the community. I think it shows that when we invest in people, you know, the return is there. And so I want to especially acknowledge, because, you know, you've gone through challenges, you overcame a lot of racism, a lot of, you know, obstacles. And I just had a chance yesterday to be out and see the new mental health facility beds that are being built at the West County Detention Facility. It's like a hospital within the jail and mental health facilities, right? And we're building, we're working with the One Stop Reentry Center. There's others here. Is Antoine still here? He may have left. A lot of the work, so that focus on reentry, that focus on, you know, the challenge that you talked about, and I think that's why we're really trying to keep track. And $1 million is not a lot, but there's other funds, and this all helps inform that. You know, as they were trying to figure out the sustainable source of revenue for African American wellness and health. I mean, so all of this is really powerful. So thanks.
Oh, and maybe I forgot to mention that Ensuring Opportunity Heart and Hands ROT basically
Yeah.
17 coaches ready to come in and eat in the community.
Yeah. Thank you. I think we're going to take it in the order. Dr. Carson. Is that who was next here? Was it? Oh, okay.
Ladies first.
Go ahead.
Ladies first.
He's a gentleman, always.
I'm glad to be here. My name is Enicia Montalvo. I'm wearing two hats today. I'm a pastor in a Hispanic church in Concord who represent them as they go to struggles, pay the rent, getting forced to move because they don't have enough money to do the end meets. It's hard to work with a community who is struggling, working hard. And also I represent Racing Juntos, which is a non-profit organization who is set here on San Pablo. And I had the privilege to be part of this as a volunteer, as a mother, as a San Pablo resident. And also, I participate in the program with the supervisors, I used to sponsor. It's called PASOS. It motivates us to work for, I think it was
We did it every Thursday night all
every
summer.
Thursday night. And
At Nickel
then
Park.
I'm so glad that I was able to come here and focus on the need of my community. You are part of my community too. God bless everyone.
I want to say something. Rising Juntos has been working on park equity in Richmond, and these are parks used by African Americans, Latinos, Southeast Asian, and and I really appreciate that effort, because I know we sponsored along with Rising Juntos every Thursday night at Nickel Park, right? Thrive Thursday, where we had a doctor out there. I know, speaking of doctor, we're going to hear from a doctor next. And resources and exercise and activity about using our parks, accessing our parks. And these are parks used by everybody, the diversity of West County. So thanks for that. I need to say something. I know you're going to, about Dr. Carson, because it's a theme about what we were talking about tonight, about also cultural competency and having people in a community serving their own population, which gets to, the discussion about scholarships for young African Americans to go into science and medicine and things like that. Virgil, you talked about, Doctor, you talked about that. Back during the pandemic, the county was trying to put out the message about vaccinations and getting people to come in and get vaccinated to protect themselves. And there was a gap between white, African American, and Latino communities in terms of the rate of vaccination. And the county was really trying to put the message out through its county physicians and others about the importance of, in the African American community, of being vaccinated. But the messenger is more important often than the message. And remember this, when there was some county physicians out talking about the importance of vaccination, it wasn't having the effect in the African American community as it should. But having Dr. Carson, remember we did a press conference out at West County Health Center, and having black pastors, right, having physicians like Dr. Carson put that message out is what got the community more engaged to get vaccinated, because they heard it from someone they trusted, they heard it from someone they believed in, they heard it from someone who was important to them that they knew. And so I just want to acknowledge that's what I'm hearing a lot of tonight, is our own community helping others in the community. That's what people accept and expect and deserve. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that. Okay.
I appreciate that.
But he's a gaucho.
Yeah, I'm a gaucho. There's a couple things.
Use the mic so we can hear it on.
There's a couple things. Dr. Carter and I, we go on a yearly basis to a conference called National Medical Association. This is when black doctors get together and talk about health disparities. There's a huge cavern of health disparities. When you look at the public health data, whether you talk about infant mortality, maternal mortality, whether you talk about diabetes rates, hypertension rates, whether you talk about strokes, atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease, whether you talk about myocardial infarcts, whether you talk about death rates, whatever it is you talk about, from the womb to the tomb, we do worse. There is a plethora of reasons why. One of the reasons is that of education. And this stuff is tearful to me because it's real. When you see people come in with blood pressures of 210 over 150 and wonder why they got a headache, come in and tell me they peeing all night and think the reason is because they drinking water when their blood sugar is 498. Men don't come in until what? When they say, I ain't strong in the bed. That's the only reason a man ain't gonna come, right? Right. I'm telling you all from a couple of vantage points. One, education. I was blessed, truly blessed, to come from Catholic school in Berkeley. When I got to Richmond in the sixth grade and went to Portland, I went to Portland. I was raised right here. I saw Ricky Jones playing basketball right there. I went to East Shore Park. That's where we played, East Shore Park. That was our home. I'm raised right over there on Fleming, 2 blocks right. My street ran right into Crescent Park. That's where I was raised, right? I done seen everything everybody else in here. I knew how the people could roll a joint with one hand, right? That's the neighborhood I come from. So do we keeping it 100, as we say. The point I wanted to bring to you, though, is when I got to Portland, I was put in certain classes. I went home and told my mama, Mom, I did all this stuff. Go tell your counselor. Mom, I told him. Mom, blah, blah, blah. My mother went there and cussed everybody out. And then, I'm just here to tell you a reality. I was put in the classes with everybody. It was me, Ralph Devers, and there was another couple other kids in there that was black. All the rest was white and Asian. From the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, we all matriculated through the same classes. And half of those kids went where? To Berkeley. Half those kids went to Berkeley with me. What does that tell me? If your kid is not on track back in the 3rd or 4th grade, it's been said here. It's been said here. We have to adopt a culture where education, not your damn Nikes, not your Nikes. You have to adopt a culture where academia is the most important thing. We have to adopt a culture where our kids come home, they go play football, basketball. I love football, basketball. They have to do their homework, and they have to be geared on track to make sure that academia is the most important thing. That is most important. Do you know the sine of 30 degrees? Do you know side angle side? Do you know what a cell membrane looks like? That will get us to the next level. That is what I believe is the next and most important thing. Making sure our babies have the education. And we as a community need to be asking them and checking them. We have to check them. Boy, why are you not at home doing your work? Why are you not doing your work? That is what's going to make, I believe, that's just me, that's what I believe that will take us to the next stage, the academia of our children.
You know, Michelle gets back, what Michelle talked about at the beginning about why it was important to rebuild Stige, because that's elementary school, right? Young people deserve the best facility, because that's a representation of our priorities, our values, and our investment. And that's why I think the community's starting to rebuild Stige. And then some of you have talked about Stige being a STEM school. Yeah. I want to make sure we hear from everybody who wants to speak before we wrap. I know Cheryl will. Yes. Okay. All right.
You can say something in a minute, buddy. Okay. Okay. In just a minute. Hi, everybody. I'm used to talking to 2-year-olds, so be patient with me. My name's Larice Mills, and I own the Point Playhouse Early Learning Center just on the other side of the highway. I'm here representing early education. We can't talk about education without talking about early education, because that's where it starts. I'm one of the 7% of Black-directed centers here in the state of California, and I'm one of the only programs that's Black-owned here in this community. Yeah. And I've worked pretty hard also to bring some other ladies up. There's a new program that just started at Hilltop that's fantastic. And I'm really happy with the work that we're doing here in the community. Our program is a Reggio Inspired program. We also are a cultural learning program, and there's a lot of intention there, because I noticed when my little one was in school, my daughter Nia, there were things that she was missing. I wasn't feeling like she was seen. I wasn't feeling like she was learning about the beautiful community around her, and so we have a lot of intention in that. I want to share that I think it's very important that additional funding go to support early education. There is about 1,200 licensed facilities here in Contra Costa County, and thankfully there was some funds that were dispersed earlier this year to help support through wage boost program, which went to help with retention of staff,
because we're losing a lot of our staff to other counties that are able to pay wages that we can't pay them. And that's really misfortunate that we haven't had the resources available to really staff in the way that we really want to. And so there was a lottery for the wage boost program, and a lot of programs didn't receive any support. I was one of those, and it's really by the grace of God that we've been able to flourish and do well, but I do see that there's a lot of programs that have been very impacted, and so I would really like to see these funds go to help support early education, and also to support small businesses, specifically in El Cerrito. I'm going to speak on that specifically because when I was opening the child care center, I reached out to city council, I reached out to the city to find out, what's available to help businesses here, because I'm struggling with navigating the permit application, and I'm struggling with these fees that I didn't know how much the permit application was. And only to find out that ARPA funds that were allocated to the city of El Cerrito were not given to support small businesses like it was in Richmond and like it was in Pinole or surrounding cities, but it was used internally in the city. And so it would really be fantastic if in good faith there was an opportunity for both early education here in this area and also for small businesses to have that opportunity to grow and to thrive, because we weren't able to. Yeah, and I've got a lot of grit. I think like many of you here in this space, I've had a lot of support from the community, and I'm thankful to still be here, and I hope to see a lot more Black-owned childcares open here in this community and to feel supported also. So thank you.
Thank you, and thanks for being a leader on that. And we allocated some money out of Measure X toward early education, including some ongoing funding, and then we upped it and increased some more. I'll have to see what the status of that is, because I think we put some ongoing allocation, not of these ARPA dollars. Of course, some of these could go to that, but we use Measure X dollars as well. Oh, Cheryl's, I think, next. Oh, Cheryl? Yes. Go ahead. Oh, no, okay, go ahead, yes.
Good evening now. I'm Natalie Allen. I do belong to this church, and the one concern that I haven't heard much about is the health education. When I first moved to Richmond, and it was in the 50s, we had 4 hospitals. We have one in Richmond now, Kaiser. I worked for public health for 30 years, and I managed the public health clinic, but it was an STD clinic in Richmond, and Dr. Carter had started, when you first came to Richmond, you were working in my clinic. And I then started working on with people when we were in the height of the AIDS pandemic and epidemic is what it was. And we really didn't know what it was at first, but then we eventually found out, and we got a bus, and we had a mobile clinic. Now, we were doing a lot of testing, but we had to figure out to have them to come back to find out their results, because they would say, "Oh, I don't want to know." They were afraid. I had to go out to the high schools and do health education, and I had a clinic in Pittsburgh and one in Concord. But Richmond is where I lived, so that was where I saw most of the real problems that, well, there were always problems, but this is where my heart was, here in Richmond. as well. And so what we had to do is to find a hook to get them back in. And at that time, it was through food. I used to buy chicken, and we'd go out and let it smell real good when it was day to get your results. And if you came in to get your results, then you got food. Because there are so many needs here in Richmond, and the younger people, they were getting younger and younger. We had a syphilis epidemic, we had an AIDS epidemic, and young people were really sick, and some actually died from AIDS. Yeah. And it was so sad because it wasn't enough education. So, when Chevron comes up with this money, not just the million, because that's not.
Talking to the 36 million now, this other fund.
Okay, so that's what we're gonna need a lot of it. We need to start having clinics opened again. I noticed that they're closed again in North Richmond.
The county's North Richmond clinic is still open. There may be the North Richmond Center for Health is still open.
Okay,
yeah.
yes, but 37th shut down.
That's over in San Pablo now.
Right,
yeah.
San Pablo shut down also, but it's still the community. That's all we have. And then Kaiser, people go there now just as a primary source of care, not an emergency. And the ones that really have emergencies, sometimes they can triage and have the ones ahead, but we have so many people that's the only source for their medical, for themselves and for their children. And we really need more medical care.
Yes.
And education.
Yes. Thank you, and thank you for your service in health. I'm making less comments between comments because I want to hear more from you so that we can hear from everybody.
Thank you. My name is Cheryl Lane. I wear many hats. I'm a mom of a gaucho freshman. I'm executive director of a community-based organization in Richmond called Fierce Advocates. We were formerly known as Building Blocks for Kids, BBK. We've been in the community for 20 years. And I was also on the African American Wellness Advisory Hub subcommittee that the county did to figure out what it's going to do with the hub. In any case, all the stuff that you all mentioned, I feel like I don't have to repeat. Like I was like, ditto, ditto, ditto. That's what I was going to say. That's what I was going to say. So some of the things that y'all haven't said, but it's connected, is around maternal health. I know Dr. Carson mentioned it. One of the things our organization does, and when I speak, it's not like, oh, I know a lot of times when people speak on behalf of organization, it's about, oh, our organization getting funding. It's not. For me, it's about the issues. So for me, it's the issue around Black maternal health. The physicians and healthcare providers know the stats. Black birthing folks, Black women, Black moms are 2 to 3 times likely to die in childbirth. Our babies are more than likely to have health issues, be born preterm. One of the things that we host, which I always say everyone should have, especially Black women, is a doula. We have a doula program, all Black women. We've graduated 60 women in our program. We've helped support more than maybe close to 300 births right now, all in Contra Costa County. We are Black serving. But I mention that more than anything because we talked about culturally competent, culturally congruent, whatever culturally you want. But it has to be like us, right? Like, it has to be us because they don't listen to us, right? I don't care. They don't. And so the importance of whether we're starting with STEM, K on, or upwards, the healthcare providers, whether you're a doula, you're a midwife, you're a physician, does need to represent us, right? They need to look like us. If I'm saying I'm in pain, you can't look at me and say, nah, she not in pain. She a big girl. Nah, I'm in pain, right? So I just want to just ensure as we're thinking about funds that we're really thinking, I think you said from the womb to the tomb, literally from the womb, that we're really echoing that need. Lastly, I really want to echo, you said it all, so I don't have to share, is really around the issue of mental health. A lot of times, folks, I'm seeing a less stigmatization, but there is still that. But I've heard folks in our communities say they actually do want it and need it. And maybe just because I'm stressed or I have anxiety, I'm worrying all the time, or I'm going through grief. Like, folks need it, and we need a way to provide it that, again, the provider looks like us, is for us, understands us, is in community, right? And oftentimes when you try to go to a provider that you feel is more connected to you, it's expensive. It's $250 an hour and up. So as we're thinking about resources, it's like, how are we rooting mental health care in community where folks need? And then lastly, I know a lot of you all, I keep on saying lastly, so sorry. I know a lot of you all work with youth. I say all of our youth are brilliant. They are. They just need that resource and tap. And they're struggling. Not all, but they are struggling. We talked about literacy. They're struggling. Math, they're struggling. And our schools are not equipped to provide them with the resources they need. I'm a mama who cusses out all the time when needed. But a lot of parents aren't equipped or don't have the time. They don't know what's going on. And so our babies are struggling. And I've seen it when I volunteer in schools. It was one day I volunteered at the school, it was Korematsu, formerly Portland, and I came out like exhausted. The black girls were looking at me like they want to fight. And I'm like, I'm 5'10", y'all want to fight me? And I'm like, I'm just here. Because they in pain, they sad, they going through a lot. And they were cussing out, like, oh my God, like, ooh. They had no outlet. And so we focus a lot on our boys, which we need to, but our girls are struggling. And so I just want to say, as we think about these youth that are focused, or resources that are focused, and I say that 1 million, okay, the 36 million, okay, that Chevron money, okay. We got to figure out, because everyone in this room, we all know what we need. The folks outside know what we need. We just got to get it connected and going. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. And just to note, you are an amazing mom, because Ashton, your son interned in our office this summer, an amazing, smart, mature young man who's just like, I felt when we would talk, I was talking to somebody double your age. The wisdom that you have, not just the knowledge, but the wisdom. Thank you. Yeah. I appreciate, and the voices today is more than just about the $1 million, as we were saying over and over, and I want to come back to what I said earlier is, coming up with using the model of the African American Wellness Hub to create a sustainable source of revenue, which I think we can identify here in West County, because it's a West County source. Let folks in other parts of the county take care of their stuff, right? Antioch has some great needs as well. To really bring together all of those who are doing amazing work in the African American community that's culturally competent. And so I had this discussion last night with some leaders. I think, your involvement with the input on the hub of really bringing together folks who are doing the work here in West County and creating that revenue source. And it's not going to solve all the problems, but at least to support and honor the work that's being done. And thanks, Cheryl. So I want to make sure, anybody here need, yes, Jeff, of course.
I just wanted to follow up on what...
Jeff, we have to give you a mic. I know you don't need a mic, but,
I'll take it. I just want to follow up on what Ms. Lane said. My name is Jeff Wright. I grew up in the city of Richmond. Grandparents came here to work in the shipyards. Parents graduated from Richmond High in 1948. So we were a long-time fixture here in the community. But I want to follow up on what you said, particularly speaking about the young women at Fred Korematsu. I have an aunt, one of my mother's sisters. She ended up taking care of 3 great-grandchildren. Now, my aunt, her daughter, who's my first cousin, got caught up in things in life. She subsequently had a daughter who got caught up in things in life. So my aunt, in her golden years, retired from the U.S. Postal Service, ready to travel and do her thing, in order to keep her great-grandchildren from getting caught up in the foster system, In her golden years, she took on raising great-grandchildren. To your point, one of her great-grandchildren attends Fred Korematsu, and I can attest to the fact that this young cousin of mine carries a lot of burden and stress just by virtue of the fact that her mother couldn't take care of her, her grandmother couldn't step in, and her great-grandmother had to step in. My aunt, she's 83 years old, now dealing with a 14-year-old. So it's a very challenging situation. Getting to the point of some of these funds that are going to be available, you talk about mental health and well-being, very stressful for my 83-year-old aunt having to deal with a 14-year-old, and she's doing, real well with handling that situation. Very stressful for a young woman, 14 years old, I'll call it maybe constrained living with someone 83 years old, so that just adds to the element of stress. So one of the thoughts that I have in mind, because my wife and I, we try to help where we can help financially, because my aunt is that type of person. She likes to have the grandchildren and the children culturally immersed, exposing them to all manner of things, in terms of the arts and culture, and when she was still traveling, taking them on trips. But it's burdensome when you're retired and dealing with a pension, and when these extra things come up that cost money. If there was some type of fund available to help these grandmothers and great-grandmothers who are taking care of, children.
Robert's taking notes on this.
Again, some type of fund, so when these events come up, these balls and different things that these kids would want to attend, there might be some money available, or when these various cultural events, plays, and different things that will enrich these kids. If there's a funding source available to help, it takes some of the mental stress and pressure off. So things of this nature might be helpful too, because I can really appreciate what you're saying and what you experienced at Fred Korematsu. Matter of fact, principal lives across the street from me too.
Thanks, Jeff. And thanks for your service on the Planning Commission. So do we have anybody on Zoom that we didn't get? Tanya, I saw walk out. Sonia, do we know if we have anybody on Zoom that we need to include? We can check. So last call. This has been really powerful. Really powerful. Thanks. Other last call for folks. Gonna stand next to your father?
My name is Ronald, and I'm 7 years old, and I'm here because my dad brought me here, and I also wanted to talk about other businesses not supporting black people. Like Target, the Target that's close to here doesn't like to give black people a job, and some other places also don't want to do that, and I feel like that's a little wrong.
Yes.
And also, like, I just wanted there to be peace with black people and other people.
I guess Ronnie and his wife have done a really good job raising, haven't they? Yes. And unfortunately, that observation made by a 7-year-old says a lot about what's happening, right? And when we set up this Office of Racial Equity and Social Justice, some of you who were there may remember when went through this 18-month community process where the community helped develop the specific idea, and it came to our board. There were like 100 people that spoke. There were some of my colleagues on the board that didn't want to acknowledge that this still happens today. And fortunately, it was that power of the community, those 100 voices that led to the board unanimously voting for it. And you were there, Mariana. Others were. But remember, that was a pretty telling discussion at our board when some people said, well, it's their opinion that that's what happens. It's not fact. And yeah. And I leaned over to my colleague who said that, I won't say who it was, and I said, these individuals have lived experience and are talking about it. You may think it's their opinion, but it's fact. And I think that's the challenge and struggle we still have, that people don't admit that this happens today. And all of your voices today are part of really lifting up that, and that there's still, and we're seeing this, what's happening in Washington, that we thought we had come further than we have. And that there's a lot more work to do than we thought there was, which is why your voices are really important. And I feel appreciative and honored that I get to reflect those voices, and hopefully we'll make good decisions about how we invest. And that's why I said it's about achieving equity and removing health and economic disparities. And that's what it's about. Longevity, yes, Maisha. Well, when we have equity, we have longevity, right? As Dr. Carson was saying, all those disparities that exist, right? And lower birth weight for young African-American children, or, shorter lifespans, equity gets longevity. Add more. I mean, I learned from you.
I would agree that the whole issue is can we get to these points where we can solve these health issues, and as Dr. Carter, my mentor, would say, and you just know, first thing, let me just say, y'all don't know how many times in the ER I woke this man up.
You want people to hear you.
No, I want you to understand, I was the medical director of the emergency department at Brookside, and I did that for 7 years. I got here in 1998. When I got here, Dr. Carter had already been here. I worked with Dr. Jenkins. Dr. Jenkins was the director of the PEDS ICU. I'm working with living legends. I would wake this man up at 3 o'clock in the morning to come deal with patients individually, such that those health disparities were closed.
Yeah. And one other person I know you knew and worked with, I just wanted to honor, was Jim McMillan. Oh, yeah. Remember, Jim was the first black pharmacist in the city of Richmond. A very good friend of mine who passed away just a couple of years ago. He opened that pharmacy in downtown Richmond in 1960, right? Moved it up to Cutting. You ever go into his pharmacy, remember, and you know how, pardon? Yes, right. And you go in, you know how the pharmacist in the back, you had to step up. So people in the community would walk into that pharmacy and you'd look up at Jim, right? Because he was behind the pharmacy counter, and it was a step up. So he was like you were speaking to somebody with authority, and he was like a community doctor in a way. And he talked about those same issues that you've dealt with as the first black pharmacist in town, and then of course on the Richmond City Council for 8 years. But and that he was looked up because for a while he was the only black pharmacist in town.
And he lived right over here.
Right here, Santa Clara Avenue, right.
Right here.
Right.
When those people live in your community and the boys can see those kids, the girls can see those kids. Yes. One of my proudest things, I've been working with the Richmond Steelers for 30 years. I am the medical doctor for the Richmond Steelers. I've been near the treasurer for 30 years. That's my pride. When people say what you brag about, I work with the Richmond Steelers. Saturday morning, where am I going to be? Out there with the Richmond Steelers.
All right. So Virgil may be the last one. So we'll see. This is anyone else after Virgil? Oh, Pat. Pat. Yeah. You started it, so it's fitting you're going to close this tonight.
This will be real quick.
Oh,
but
yes.
In talking,
and the whole Mills family is going to make sure they speak tonight. Yes.
Will there be a formal application process?
Yes. So what we're going to do, I'm going to say that at the end. As soon as we're done, I'm going to talk about that. Yes. Go ahead, Virgil. Virgil, go ahead.
Okay. What Dr. Carson was talking about, I remember years ago, the black doctors in the area could not admit patients into Brookside Hospital. They could admit them into Martinez, Highland, and Herrick. And my father lost a patient going out to Martinez because on Highway 4 it was just 2 lanes back then. And so he raised hell and got on board finally got on at Brookside, but they put him in emergency. And so for most physicians, when they've been out a while, emergency isn't really what they want to do. But he closed his office on Thursday so he could work, and that was what they offered him, so he could see the black patients coming through. There's a lot of history in Richmond, a lot of history that just doesn't get talked about. And what's amazing and what's different now is that when I was growing up and us around the same age, we did have black businesses and a community in here. We all got our first jobs through a black business. So I'm just saying, it hasn't changed much, has it?
So we're going to have 2 more. Looks like maybe 2 more. Go ahead, yes.
My name is Nia Faye Mills. I was born in Oakland, but I did live in Richmond for a while. And I'm 10 years old, and I'm in the 5th grade. Next year I'm going to middle school. And I just wanted to add on to my brothers. When people aren't equal, at my school, some people are not nice to you. They'll just be rude to you, and they think they could get away with it, which is not okay. They want to be good to other, I get it, because sometimes I will do it. I will be mean to people because I don't feel right. And when other people do that, it's when they need somebody to understand them. And that's what I feel like other people need sometimes. Other people just need somebody to talk to understand. And if you do talk to them, then who knows, you might even change the world or be a better person, and somebody will know about you in the future. And that's what really counts.
Thank you very much. Huh? I know. And then Pat, and then I'll wrap up.
Okay. Just really quick, hello everyone from the back of the room over here. My name is Sarah. I run the Contra Costa Budget Justice Coalition with my colleague Mariana, and I know Maisha for the past year, and of course, John sees me pretty regularly at the board meetings, but just hearing everyone's story, and I think specifically around the Brookside Medical Center, I remember that was one of the first places where my mom was really taken care of, and was kind of really put together a team to treat her sickle cell, and so that was something that I feel like my family always appreciated, and I feel like that center will always hold a really, really special just place in my heart. And yeah, I just wanted to share that.
And thanks. Sarah's work really does advocate for an equitable budget, and it's a whole coalition of diversity in your coalition to advocate for that.
Sarah's amazing.
Sarah is. You're all amazing, actually. I mean, you all are.
Well, here I am again. So I really, really, really want to say, excuse me, to each and every one of you, I should be standing, thank you for choosing St. Peter, for making this difference in our community. And I want to say that once upon a time, a wise man said, history is his story. And once upon a time, when we have these thoughts and ideas and feelings and want to make a change, we came one place, to the church. We didn't have J.S. Belcher Social Hall. We went to the church. My message right now is we need to go back to the church. I'm hoping and praying, and I know there are a lot of churches in this room. This will not be the only time you will come into this place with these issues. But I'm saying again, it is his story. And let's go back to the church. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. And you know that I was here Sunday when the church was celebrating its 72-year history and all the amazing things that came out from the members of this church, the pastors of this church. You know, not just you, but the team of folks from this church. And we are, as I said earlier, we are fortunate to have so many great faiths and congregations in West County that have stepped up to be a moral voice on homelessness, on healthcare access, on other social services, on supporting immigrants. And they've truly been the moral voice for us in West County, and I appreciate that. So this was really powerful. And that's why we didn't limit. That's why we didn't limit how much time everybody got, right? Because you know, how often do we get times to have this type of back and forth and discussion? And I'm glad we're doing enough town halls to be able to do this. And yes, we can come back in the future. This is a start. And so on process, responding to the doctor's question, what I'm hoping to do is coming out of these town halls is to come up with a type of solicitation document that goes out that sets parameters based on the public input. And I think we've everything that's being said today are things I'm thinking about, so that then there'll be an application for grants under 50,000, over 50,000. And so we will follow that up in a very public way, okay? And have you make sure that you're all aware of that. I'm going to advocate at the board that more of our unspent ARPA dollars get used here.
John, tell them how much there is. There's $17 million countywide. After that,
You want to say something since, you're head of Ensuring Opportunity? Go ahead.
Hey y'all, Mariana Moore, so glad to be here. I grew up in Richmond, and I'm going to tell you, this is the coolest. I've been to all the town halls. This one right here was the coolest. I'm not joking. The rest of them are like someone standing by a podium and just like standing up, and y'all are like, we're a community, and we're going to be heard. So I just want to give you respect for coming out tonight. Anyway, so there's $17 million more of ARPA money that is in the county coffers that's available, that I strongly encourage y'all.
It would come out to about $3 million per district if it got divided up.
Well, but there's
right?
some countywide needs, John. But yeah,
Yes.
y'all
But
can
it
argue
depends
about
how we
that.
do it,
That's
right.
But 17 million, get that money, that figure in your head, 17 million. So $1 million in my head is just a start for this district, and y'all know exactly what you need. It was very powerful. Y'all got this. 17 million more. The Board of Supervisors is going to meet on October 21st. Put that on your calendar. You can Zoom in. You can come to Martinez, right? Come and lift up your voices. What I heard tonight was powerful and beautiful. We're not hearing it enough at the Board of Supervisors. John does an amazing job representing you, your needs, your community. So he's on it. But the direct voices of all of y'all and folks who couldn't come tonight that's the other gap. That's the other equity gap. Need to have your voices of this beautiful black community and others. I know it's not just blacks here, but that is the voice that is missing at the Board of Supervisors. So I just want to invite you. You're welcome in that space. Yeah, right. Let's go. Exactly.
Thank you. I think yes, Pat. Yes. All right, so we'll get our pastor to dismiss us. I will just say before I hand it over, we will be public about this process. There's other town halls that people could participate in. You can tell your friends. We have a flyer on it. There's one at San Pablo City Hall, and there's one at the Rice Center in Richmond. So there's 2 more left. And yes, I advocate for the other 17 million to be part of this countywide allocation, because that money got put in our reserves. We are lucky as a county. We have a lot of money in reserves. I think we're prudent. We're fiscally responsible. We could spend that 17 million of unspent federal ARPA dollars. I've been advocating for that. So having more community voices there will help us. Means talk to your friends and other supervisorial districts, because, you know, there's people that feel like you in the other districts. And I think it's really important for you to do that. So again, thank you, St. Peter CME, for opening your home, your spiritual home. This has been the center for a lot of great community discussions. Many of us have been here where there's been lots of discussions about issues in our community. And so thank you, St. Peter, for opening up. Pastor, did you want to just close? Oh, we can either Mike. Thank you. And welcome. You know, I know we welcomed you on Sunday. You come from Mississippi. And I'll say something that we said back on Sunday. You know how we welcomed her? The earth shook. Remember that? At 3 o'clock in the morning. What was that? 3 o'clock in the morning, the earth shook to welcome you? Because you don't get that kind of stuff in Mississippi. You just get it here in California. So there was an announcement to the world that you were here.
Good evening, good evening. I've heard some great things tonight. I'm not really understanding a lot about your communities and all these names you guys are calling, but one thing I do understand is a need for early childhood education. That was my thesis theme for ITC as I graduated with my MDiv, and we are not excited about getting our preschoolers that education exposed before they get to kindergarten. We're losing our children. And that is what I've heard mostly tonight that touched my heart. If we do not advocate and get excited, there is a pipeline that's building for prison for our children. And if we don't get them on board now, on the same playing field that others have, then we will lose them. We need the generation for tomorrow to be like us, look like us, teach our children what it means to go forth. And we already can thrive, but we need the education, the backing, the funding to go forward. Thank you all for being here. You dismiss? You get to dismiss. Oh, do I get to dismiss? Okay. We thank you for the food. It was good. We thank you for... Please take it home. There's more food, so take it home. So you hear what he's saying. You're welcome to take home as we get ready to dismiss. I'm in church. Look, I don't know how to dismiss a crowd without being in church. Thank you all for being here, and may God bless each and every one of us, that what we've heard tonight, as we say in the scripture in James, be not only hearers, but doers of the word. Be blessed and go forward.